Well, that crash, a deadly one in Charlottesville, was caught on video by several people at yesterday's rally. And be warned, some of this is going to be disturbing. The images show this car speeding forward to plow right into the pedestrians, then backing up, hitting more people and speeding away. Brennan Gilmore recorded it all on his phone and uploaded it to his Twitter account. And Brennan joins me now. Brennan, pretty horrifying thing to witness, that's for sure. Take us through what you saw.
Yes, absolutely terrifying scene. I was filming actually a peaceful, nonviolent march of anti-racist protesters who were coming up a very narrow street. I was in the middle of the street myself filming them and heard from behind me the acceleration of a vehicle, spun around and saw the vehicle in question barreling down a very narrow street with no traffic on it at a high rate of speed, clearly intent on doing damage and destruction to the crowd, passed over a barrier and went down the street and accelerated hard as it barreled into the crowd, sending bodies flying.
Oh, God. Among the things you had publicly said yesterday via Twitter and elsewhere, let there be no confusion, this was deliberate terrorism. You stand by that?
Absolutely. And, you know, I don't know if the authorities here have used the word terrorism yet. There's a judicial process which will play out. But it was clearly perpetrated by one of these racist Nazis who came to Charlottesville to spread their vile ideology. And he targeted this crowd very clearly. There's no question of anyone who witnessed it that his intent was to cause a mass casualty incident. And it's a domestic terrorist incident as far as what I witnessed.
And Brennan, you must have felt frightened for your own safety. I mean, what was that like being there?
Well, I mean, my immediate concern was to attend to the people who had gotten hit. A woman had collapsed right in front of me. So after I stopped filming, I gave her first aid best that I could. The police were very quick on the scene. First responders were on the scene quite quickly as well. You know, but it was a terrible situation, and my heart goes out to the family of, frankly, a martyr on the side of the anti-racists who gave her life fighting against this hatred and racist ideology.
You know, this wasn't the only scene that you recorded that was horrible. You recorded fights breaking out in the crowd earlier in the day. So talk about police presence. What did you see in that regard?
There's a heavy police presence around town. I think this was the largest deployment of police in the area. There were fights around the central location before the state of emergency was declared. I was critical on Twitter about that, wondering why they didn't intervene. But let me be clear. I don't want to second guess the incredibly difficult job that the authorities had here yesterday when a federal judge granted permission to a group whose very existence is violent, is based on an ideology of hatred that wouldn't allow certain classes of people to have rights or to exist even. And, you know, the legal authority let them come to a very compact, tight part of town. So, you know, the police had a very difficult job to do. Once the state of emergency was declared, they moved in very quick to disperse these crowds. But these Nazis came to town with a very clear intent to cause harm. There's no question. They were awash with semi-automatic weapons, with shields, with helmets. They came here to spur violence, and that's what happened, and that's what we saw. And frankly, with the amount of weapons on the street here in Charlottesville, I'm surprised and thankful that it wasn't much worse.
Although, Brennan, you are on record as saying that you thought the police needed better training. Do you still stand by that in reflection today?
Look, I think this is something new for the police department here in Charlottesville. This is something new for a lot of us, and this is a wake-up call to a lot of people who aren't woken up to the type of violence that this racist ideology naturally leads to. You know, communities of color have been very aware of the threats of this, you know, for many, many years. But a lot of other Americans have to realize that the natural conclusion of this type of ideology is violence.
All right, Brennan, a very sobering conversation with you. Thank you very much, though, for sharing your thoughts and that video, horrifying as it was. Brennan Gilmore, stay safe.